well, that's not what it's supposed to taste like. Every time I drink this tea, it's just so sweet and so aromatic. I swear next time, let me just brew one more tea to give you that beautiful experience. Hi everyone, my name is Jeffrey McIntosh. Welcome to another video here on my channel where we talk about everything related to pour tea. And how many of you all have had an experience similar to that, where I just talked about in the beginning, where maybe you have someone who's never tried tea before, you go to their house, you bring the whole tea set up, you're trying to share tea with them, and the tea is just not right. You're not brewing it right, no one's picking up those beautiful sweet characteristics or aromatic qualities that you experience day in and day out when you brew tea for yourself. So I'm sure if you love tea and you want to share tea, we've all had one of those experiences. We've gone to someone's house, we prepared tea, and it just wasn't on. It wasn't really performing. The flavor wasn't there. They don't understand why you like this tea so much, what's going on. So I'm going to share some best practices the next time you share tea with friends or colleagues so you can have the best outcome. So before, when I was always trying to share tea with folks, now when I was at a tea store or tea location, that was very different because people would come intently to the location and ask for me to brew tea. And it was in a controlled setting and everything was perfect and the way it was, and I prepared tea in that setting every day, every time of the day, forever. So it's a very controlled setting. But when mistakes start to happen and things start to go out of our control is when we take tea to someone else's location or home, trying to prepare the tea in hopes they'll experience the same beauty we experience when we drink tea. So, a few things to keep in mind. I know we all want to share tea. We want to share this experience, our passion, and why we love it so much, right? We want to share that with others. But when you go to someone else's house, you have to keep in mind that if you're doing all of the effort to go to that individual, to prepare and let them drink tea, they probably aren't as interested in drinking tea as you might think. Otherwise, they probably would have come to you or gone to a tea store to try the tea. So that's already working up against you a little bit. You may have hyped the tea. So they might have very, very high expectation of what they're about to drink. So this is also working against you. We're down for 2 now. And then you have to prepare the tea perfectly. We don't know what their water situation is going to be like. We don't know if the weather's going to be good, if they got blazing AC in the house. I mean, all these things going up against us. And then we usually will bring a lot of teas. Black tea, white tea, raw pour. We'll bring all of our favorite teas because we want them to try them all. If they don't like this one, well, maybe they'll like this one. All this focus, the whole hour or 2 hours you're sharing tea, is just them waiting to experience this crazy flavor or experience you've talked about. So it's very difficult to have a positive outcome. That's what I'm trying to say. You're probably not going to have a truly positive outcome by preparing tea that way, because there's just so much up against you. And then when you are changing teas, try this tea, or you didn't like it that much, okay, let me bring another tea, or you don't like that tea so much, let me bring another tea. You've just devalued all of your tea. Because a tea that you started with, which you believe is very good quality, and because of a single reaction, or they tasted it and the taste wasn't good, or the aroma wasn't there, all of a sudden that tea is just disqualified from quality. Let me try another tea. And it doesn't allow an atmosphere where people cherish the quality, right? The whole concept of scarcity. It just looks like all your tea is abundant and there's tons of it, and you can just pull up another tea until it finds a taste profile that they like. And you also risk all of those different taste profiles mingling and being hard to discern, and maybe some tea has less caffeine, some has more, and they might miss that really comfortable experience that we all feel after drinking a good cup of tea. So with all that in mind, I'm not going to give you some big recipe of you need to use this certain tea tool, or you need to change your temperature, or you need to have different gaiwans, you need to have these 3 teas, and this is the lineup. Actually, you want to remove all of that thinking. Instead, next time you share tea with a colleague and you really want them to experience good tea, don't talk much of it. Don't create a lot of hype. Don't talk about what they should be tasting, what they should be feeling, what they should be smelling. None of that's important. Just take a tea that's very simple to understand, that's not too complex, maybe a really good black tea, maybe a really good white tea. I wouldn't even get into pour, to be honest, even though I know we all love pour tea. And I would just say, hey, I'm going to come over, let's drink some tea. And I would prepare that black tea in a nice large cup. I wouldn't even bring all this teaware. If you want to get fancy, maybe 1 gaiwan, 2 large cups. And then just brew a large cup of black or white tea, put it in front of both of you on a nice table, remove all this craziness, and just slowly drink that tea and only focus on the conversation. Just like you're talking to a good friend. There's almost no focus on the tea whatsoever. There's no expectations on the person to like it or not like it. There's no expectations that you're serving them this tea that they have this perception that it's just the center of your life, right? You love it so much. That's why you prepared all this stuff. They don't have that expectation. And you can just casually have a good conversation without having to perform or make this perfect tea. And in the end, if the conversation was pleasant, you were talking to a good friend, it was good weather, the window was breezing, and they have this nice warm cup of tea in their hand, and they're drinking it, and it's quite pleasant, you're probably going to have a very pleasant experience, and they start to have a positive association with tea and you making tea. And if they make several comments about, oh wow, the aroma is quite aromatic and floral and sweet, I've never experienced that before, this tea is very soothing, at that point, then you're invited to maybe serve a second tea. And maybe you can serve it in a little smaller cup and say, okay, maybe we'll focus a little bit more on the tea flavor, but still engaging only in that conversation, and that's it. So now when I share tea with folks and I go to their location, I usually will serve it in a large cup. I will never usually serve more than 2 teas at a maximum. Usually it's just 1 tea, and it's usually a black or a white tea. It's very rare that on the first time I'm going to someone's house and preparing tea for them that I will bring a pour tea. And I'm crazy about pour. It's all I have, basically. Because I want them to have a positive association with tea and me, and maybe that experience is slightly different than they've had with other types of tea. And if I've achieved that, I've achieved my goal. Because now I've opened the invitation for them to maybe come over to my environment, my atmosphere, that I have everything in control with water quality and teas and setup. And they can just simply sit down and I can prepare the tea more casually, and there isn't as much pressure to make sure everything's set up accordingly. And that might be a better way or a better gateway into the world of pour tea for your friends, colleagues, loved ones, etc. So remember, next time you want to share your passion, tea, which we all want to do, right? Keep it simple. Just bring 1 tea, maybe 2, have a big cup, just have a good conversation and drink a good cup of tea. You might have a really, really positive outcome, and you can slowly introduce them to all of this craziness, because to most people, a setup like this is a little overwhelming. Most people are drinking tea in tea bags, so why not just give something that's slightly more familiar, very casual, have a wonderful conversation, get to know your friend a little bit more, and then you can welcome them into this wonderful world of pour tea or loose leaf tea, 1 step at a time. I do hope that is helpful. If you do have your own experiences and stories about sharing teas with your friends, good or bad, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear about them. I do hope this video was helpful to you all, and good luck the next time you share tea with some of your friends or colleagues. And until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in my future videos.